Hello, everybody. So I think we are live now and things are working. So I hopefully will be able to see comments or questions. If people have them, I will be checking as I go through this training today. This is a really important training because this is something people struggle with and they stay stuck in their health because they're not really getting the answer. So I wanted to come on today and describe just exactly what that looks like, and that have you understand that if you feel like this, if you've experienced this, it's not you, you're not crazy, you are just not getting the right information. So today's talk is about why your labs look like you're fine, you're told that they're normal, but you still feel terrible. You feel like garbage. You probably are anxious, you're foggy, you're inflamed, you're stuck, you're unmotivated, even though your labs say you're fine. So then what happens is that we kind of beat ourselves up, we diet harder, we exercise harder, we take more supplements because we think that that's all we need to do because everything is normal according to the labs. But there's a problem with this. So I want to show you today how labs what labs commonly miss and what you can do about it, and why standard testing often gives you kind of a false sense of reassurance, and how some deeper insight can explain why you feel the way you do. All right. So first, if you are new here or if you haven't been here for a while, my name is Tiffany. I'm a board certified and licensed nutritionist. I came to this space and I'm in this group and created this business because I struggled with normal labs, feeling terrible and feeling stuck and frustrated, and honestly felt like there was something wrong with my mental health because I must be a hypochondriac or something to feel how I was feeling, despite what my labs would tell me and what they'd tell the doctor. And the doctors would say that everything is fine. You just need to, stress less. Or they would tell me that I was just getting older. And mind you, when I started feeling like I was feeling, I was in my 20s, my early 20s. And that's the kind of advice I got. And so this is basically why I'm here today, to help everybody struggling with same or similar types of things, because that's where I stayed stuck. And it wasn't until I figured it out, dove deep into nutrition, and got to where I understood the labs and how I can help people get the right labs and helping people feel so much better. And the big takeaway is, again, there's nothing wrong with you, right? You might have something wrong with you that needs to be balanced out so you can feel better, but you are, your feelings are real. If you are feeling like you're struggling and everything looks like it shouldn't be, you are probably right. Listen to yourself, listen to your body. Okay, so let's talk about the problem with normal labs. All right, normal doesn't mean optimal. Okay, there's a very different thing that we need to understand. When you're looking at your standard lab value ranges that you get at the doctor once a year, or if you go in for, sickness or something, you will get a set of labs, which are great. However, they give you more of a statistical range and not necessarily a functional range or a healthy range, right? It doesn't tell you a lot of information. So many of these lab ranges are based on sick populations in the demographics of where you live. It's kind of how those results are put together, and a range for whatever lab you're looking at will be populated. And usually it's based on sick populations, aging populations, and averages, not people who are in peak health. Okay. When we are basing that on people in this, the United States, based on standard ranges, that's not really saying a lot for how we feel and function, because we have a sort of sick population. We have a lot of metabolic disorders, a lot of metabolic disease, a lot of autoimmune conditions, and that's what those normal lab ranges are based on. Okay, so you can be in the range, and some of the ranges are really broad, by the way, but you can still not feel well, and you can for sure not be functioning optimally. And this is what is the problem. So If anybody has stories that relate to this, I'd welcome you to share it or comment below something about that, because everybody can see that they're not alone, because this is something that happens all the time. But let's talk about thyroid labs first. This is the most common thing when people start to struggle with inability to lose weight, weight loss resistance, or where it just becomes really, really hard to do. Most people will think, oh, it must be my thyroid, because we can blame everything on the thyroid, especially when it comes to our metabolic health and our weight. We can always go to blame the thyroid hormone. But here's what most labs run. And believe me, I have begged and pleaded for this for people in my family, for myself, before I knew better, that I would beg for more lab testing, and they will tell me that all of that other testing is, doesn't mean anything, is unnecessary. And the bottom line is, it's not how the standard system is set up to test for thyroid. It goes kind of against their, their textbook plan for looking at thyroid, and it really keeps people stuck for too long. So at least having a baseline is going to be helpful, right? So most doctors are going to run a TSH, which is called the thyroid stimulating hormone. Sometimes they'll run a free T4. I find that more commonly those are being run together now, which is, a step in the right direction, but it is really not giving you the full picture. When people bring the labs to me, like when they start working with me, they'll say, oh, I have a new thyroid panel. I'm like, great, let's look at that. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't really tell us anything unless it's extremely out of the normal range. Then we can maybe do something with it. But if it's just sort of in the low end of normal or something like that, it doesn't give us a lot of insight just because it's in the normal range. Okay, so the TSH is only telling us how our brain is signaling the thyroid gland. The TSH is not a function or a level of your thyroid hormone. It's not how well the thyroid hormone is converting in your system. It's not talking about how well it's being transported to your tissues. And it doesn't talk about, or it doesn't let us know anything about what is being used inside your cells. So the missing and incomplete picture for your thyroid is there with that TSH only and free T4. To get the complete picture, you need to have a free T3. I would love to have a reverse T3. And you need to look at your thyroid antibodies. Okay, so in addition to that, there are other markers that can correlate with your symptoms that are related to poor thyroid functioning. And that's going to be your stress hormones, your cortisol and stress markers, and other nutrients like iron and ferritin, B12, selenium, and zinc. Those are all things that are part of the picture of how well your thyroid is, functioning. And I know in my experience, I would ask my doctor when I was really struggling with my thyroid health and trying to figure out where things, what's going on, because they would say your thyroid labs look great, everything is looking perfect with your medication and everything, but I'm still feeling terrible. And I'd ask, will you check my selenium level? Will you check my zinc level? Will you check my iodine level? And they were like, what do you mean? We don't do that. It just wasn't a thing. Maybe a zinc level they would check here and there, but anything else was beyond their scope of understanding or what they were willing to do. So we need to have these other numbers because they give us a really full picture of how well your thyroid is functioning. So again, if you have the free T3 level, that's going to show you how active your thyroid hormone is, if you're having good conversion from the T4 to the T3. If we have your reverse T3 number, we can see if you are being medicated, for example, and you are converting all of the thyroid hormone into reverse T3, that blocks your active levels of thyroid hormone, and that tells us a big picture. That is one that is really hard to get at the conventional setting. I will tell you that. I see that one is really pushed back against a lot of functional or conventional practitioners, and to be honest, some functional practitioners too, from what I've seen. Your thyroid antibodies will tell us if there is sort of an autoimmune component to your thyroid dysfunction. And then, like I said, those nutrients that we were talking about, iron, ferritin, B12, etc., when we have that information, that can help us boost up your body's ability to help support the thyroid to do what it's supposed to do by making sure it's got the right nutrients in order to function properly. So it all matters because you can have a normal TSH, you can have a normal T4, but you can have poor T3 conversion, right? So your TSH can look great, your T4 can look normal, and then if we don't have that T3 information, we might not be able to know, or we won't know, I should say, how well T4 is converting into T3. Because we don't have that information, they won't test it. They just assume that your body and your thyroid, your liver, your gut is perfect enough to help that thyroid hormone conversion, and that's just not the case. It doesn't tell us whether or not that thyroid hormone can even get into the cells of your body, and it does not tell us if you have an autoimmune component driving the fatigue, the weight gain, the hair loss, the cold intolerance. So you can feel hypothyroid, meaning low thyroid function, and have completely normal labs. And it can be like that forever, especially if you're only getting a TSH and T4 lab panel done, which is what's done most of the time. Even if you said, and I've seen this, I've experienced it myself. I've experienced it with my daughter. Can we please do a full thyroid panel? Oh, yep, sure, we'll do that. Okay, so what's on your full thyroid panel? Well, a TSH and a T4. Can we do a free T3? Can we do a reverse T3? Can we look for thyroid antibodies? Those things are unnecessary. They don't tell us anything. That is how that conversation goes. I have seen it a million times. I've experienced it myself. It's really frustrating. But if you do not have the full picture, at least have a baseline of the full picture. It's hard to be able to help yourself. And like I said, where I'm coming from, I'm working on things from sort of that root cause, trying to, build your body and your basics up, get your body systems working properly so that your thyroid can work better, your other hormones can work better, whether you're on medications or not. And I have access where you can get prescriptions in all 50 states. I can help people in all 50 states with that, and also helping them support their body so that those medications and hormone replacements can actually work better. But you're going to get the right testing as well. That's for sure what my programs are all about. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to comment below and I can get you that information. If you want to set up a free call to get that information as well, I can put the link in the comments and you can book that call, learn all about how you can access all of that and do that. And just have a conversation about, see if it's a good fit for you. But there's so much more to this from the lab, so I want to get into that. So just comment call if you want the link to set up your clarity call. And I'm going to get into other testing and explain the differences and why your labs might miss some of these things and why it's really important for you to know for yourself. Okay, so we have to talk about other types of testing. So another thing people say to me is, well, my B12 is fine, my iron is fine, and my zinc is fine. They'll say, all my nutrients are fine. They're fine. There's nothing wrong there. I hear this all the time. So we need to know the difference between the testing you're doing at your regular doctor's office. Let's say you go have a blood panel, you do a CBC, you do a CMP, that's complete blood count. And that is the metabolic panel, the comprehensive metabolic panel. And sometimes they'll add on, like a B12 or something like that, magnesium maybe. And again, they're going to probably look normal because the ranges for those nutrients are super broad. And so most people are going to fall into normal, but again, not optimal. And one of the things that people need to understand is that by the time with serum testing, that's when you go to the lab and have your blood drawn, that serum testing is a point in time. Okay, it's a point in time. It is what is sort of circulating in your blood, what's floating around the system right now, okay? It is not what's in your cells available to the work. So think of the serum like a delivery truck, not what made it into the house, okay? So if the nutrients are poorly absorbed, being burned quickly because you're utilizing those nutrients to deal with stress or some chronic health condition or something like that, what you don't know if they're being blocked from entering the cells, or you maybe need more because you're stressed out, super stressed out, or you've been ill. That's what it does not tell us. So serum can look normal even though the cells could be starving for those specific nutrients. So there's other testing that I prefer. It's a functional testing. It's based on cellular nutrients, right? So these are the nutrients that are actually inside the cells where the energy is made. So those are the cells that are needed for mitochondrial function, for making your brain chemicals, those neurotransmitters. Those are things like serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, those types of things. Hormone production, detoxification, building your immune system and your resilience. So this can explain why someone can have normal B12, normal magnesium, normal zinc and iron, but still feel exhausted, anxious, depressed, weak, maybe brain foggy, if you feel burned out, if you're feeling inflamed, because those nutrients aren't, for whatever reason, getting into the cells, or they're being depleted faster than the labs can even detect them. That is why you can have those normal labs and still feel the way you're feeling. It's really a frustrating place to be because you're held captive. You're not getting the help you need with that. So this is why you can feel awful even with perfect labs. So labs don't always capture the mitochondrial dysfunction. They don't talk about, or they don't take into consideration the chronic stress, cortisol dysregulation, blood sugar instability, inflammation, that maybe goes below the diagnostic thresholds. It doesn't determine or pick up on nervous system dysregulation. It doesn't show early autoimmune patterns. It doesn't talk about nutrient utilization problems. I see that a lot where people may have a good amount of like a precursor or what am I trying to say? Like a beginning stage nutrient that needs to be converted into another nutrient. I see that with antioxidants. They may have enough of it coming in, but they're not able to utilize it properly, mainly because of gut absorption issues, mainly because of chronic stress and inflammation. Or if people have a toxic load in their capacity to detox, with their liver, if that becomes a problem, that makes it hard for nutrient deficiencies to be detected to where you can actually do something about it, because you'll walk away frustrated thinking, okay, everything's normal. It must just be me. I must just be a hypochondriac. I must just be, mentally unstable, or whatever the things we talk about. And then we dig deeper and we go in harder, almost in a punitive way, because we're frustrated with how we feel. This is a common pattern. So your symptoms will often show up months or maybe even years before labs will flag disease. I see that with thyroid stuff all the time. People can struggle for 20 years before getting a diagnosis. They may have had symptoms for that long, but labs don't detect it until it's been so long, and people are so frustrated and they're so in the tank. So symptoms that that we're having, they're just nice warning signals. Like, they're early warning signals. They're not imaginary. So if you are having symptoms and you don't have answers, you definitely need to reach out. And if you would like a free download I have about what are those optimal lab levels, and you can compare what they should be to what you have with different labs that you currently have, comment lab below, and I'll make sure you get the link to the free download. It's just a nice little resource, and you can compare things and see your pattern along the way after you do various labs and things. And it would just be a nice little checklist for you to have on board, so you can see how your body's responding to the efforts that you're making with nutrients, working out, working on inflammation, things like that. So let's kind of put this together as an analogy a little bit. So if your lab work says, okay, there is, it's a gas tank analogy. Okay, so I thought it would be super easy to understand, just makes simple sense of it, is that there's gas in the station. Imagine that your lab work says, okay, there's gas in the station, but is the gas in your car where it's going to do the work? Is it getting to your engine where it's really going to make your car work and go? And can the engine burn it efficiently? So just because the lab might show up as you have some B12, for example, or some thyroid hormone in the T4, is it reaching the engine? Is the engine able to burn it properly? That's where the real improvement of symptoms lies. Okay. You don't just need the nutrients and the hormones present, you need them to be usable at the cellular level. And that is the difference between standard lab values and more functional types of nutrient testing. Okay, so why this kind of changes everything in your healing. Um, okay, yeah. Hi Carrie. I will get that link to you in a bit. So this changes everything because when we understand what labs miss, we can personalize supplementation rather than just taking all the supplements. People, and I mean, I have done that in the past too. I was so desperate to feel better. I would just go and I went to a big box store too. So don't do that because I didn't know better at the time, and now I do. But I would just go and get anything that I could find that was supposed to help with energy, for example. That would be my main thing. And so I took all the things, spent tons of money, did nothing, did absolutely nothing because it wasn't personalized to my needs. If you understand what your labs are missing, you can fix the absorption and maybe some gut health issues that are causing that absorption problem. You can support your mitochondria. Those are the powerhouses of the cells. That's where all the energy creation happens, is inside your mitochondria. You need to support it with the proper nutrients. You can improve your thyroid hormone conversion. Many people have enough thyroid hormone in the form of T4, but it doesn't convert properly into the T3 because often stress is involved, blood sugar problems are involved, gut problems are involved, and also just not having enough nutrients like zinc and selenium and things like that to boost that thyroid conversion. We can miss that your blood sugar is unstable. I've talked about this a ton, that if you have some of these symptoms like fatigue and cravings and things like that, you may have blood sugar dysregulation. By the way, I have one CGM kit available for the 3-month access. If anybody wants that, I want you to comment CGM below. I got one left. And what I would say is that is something that can happen even if you aren't diagnosed prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, anything like that. You can struggle with blood sugar stabilization and regulation without being diagnosed with anything. This is a big one. If you don't know what your labs are missing, or if your labs are missing things, which most likely they are, you don't know what you can do to restore your nervous system balance. Okay, we need to restore that nervous system balance because that's going to help you reduce inflammation. It's going to help you create real energy in your body, not just from stimulants like caffeine or energy drinks. And it will help you build resilience in your body. That is in my world, personal world, and my business world, resilience is the word of the year. We're trying to create resilience, and that's what I do in my Total Health Reset programs. That's what we're doing so that people's or different systems will function properly. So we build that resilience and we can have healing over time. And all of this is how we can be different. We can go from trying harder with things that aren't super effective or just kind of clunking along to actually fixing the root cause. If we don't build a house on a crumbling foundation, right? We have to get those foundational things in check and keep building so that our thyroid works better, so that our brain works better, so that our hormones are more optimal. We have to get those root causes settled in. So what I would say, to kind of summarize this and close the deal here on this talk about labs, is if you don't have good baseline labs where you get the full spectrum, or if you're that person that feels like, I feel terrible still, but my doctor says my labs are normal, you can reach out. Okay, I'm gonna say that you can take that clarity call that I talked about. It's a free call for you to check things out. So call in the comments and we'll get you set up with that. I'm also putting in the comments Just now I put a link. If you want to get a full thyroid panel once and for all, at least as a baseline, I put a link in there for you to get your own set of labs on that, so you can at least have that information to go on. And then for those of you, and I'll get that to you in a second, if you want to do the free download, that optimal labs download, I'll put that link in the comments as well, and I'll make sure that is in here when we're done. And just take a look at it, use it for comparison, and it will be really insightful and informative for you to be able to see what your labs are actually doing and saying. Because again, there's normal and then there's optimal, and we deserve to have optimal. Okay, optimal. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, I'm just gonna check here. Okay, I don't see any. I can't really see here, and they're a little delayed, so I will check again. But if there are any questions, if you're watching this on the replay or anything like that, ask away. I will answer as soon as possible, but I'll get this information to you ASAP. So Optimal Labs download, I'll put that link here below pretty soon, and I will look forward to chatting with you next week on another topic. And if you have any topics you want addressed or any questions you have answered, make sure that you ask anytime. All right, comment in the group, comment under this video, whatever you need to do, and I will get that information out to you, put something together, and teach you all about that. All right, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care. Thank you.